I'm excited to bring you this episode with Frankie about a gorilla, eye contact, a dog at the Transition City Market in London's Crystal Palace, and Frankie's frog paradise with a miraculous frog that changed colour.
My name's Frankie Sinclair. I've got 3 different activities that I do in my life. And the most meaningful is my fine art, which I got back into about 3 years ago when I moved to Salisbury and I started doing figure drawing again. Something I've always loved is that actual line drawing, that physical connection with the eyes, eye to hand. And I also sell vintage doll clothes on eBay. Cindy from the 1970s, which is all about fashion, miniature fashions. I really adore the 1970s styles of the yellow flares, a yellow twin set, clashing colours, pink. I can never get enough of these little things, and I love ironing, so I iron them, I wash them, and I put them on eBay and sell them, hopefully. And I also do a bit of admin with an architect in town called Grace Architects. Yeah, so that's what I get up to. I used to, about 15 years ago, I used to run a club, a kind of club in London called the Cartoon Figure Drawing Club. And it was all about drawing people in costume and people in various stages of movement with masks or carnival costumes, that kind of thing. And one day we decided that we were going to draw animals at the zoo, so off we went to London Zoo. And they had a gorilla enclosure. So the gorillas were mostly outdoors. And I know the humans, us, were walking through a glass corridor, so we could see the gorillas on the other side of the glass, which was, I guess, an inch thick or something. One of the gorillas, I think there was a part where we stopped, which had cement walls, but the gorilla could go out from there, but this gorilla was inside, and I'm not sure if it was a male or a female. I think probably a female, because it didn't have the big shaggy sort of hood, and it wasn't that broad shouldered, so it must have been probably a female. She was a bit disturbed, and she was kind of throwing herself against the walls a bit, and I felt that maybe it was because people were staring, and staring is quite an aggressive social communication, I guess. Anyway, so we all had our little sketchbooks with us, and we had little folding stools to sit on, which were really, really small, about a foot high, and we just arranged ourselves on the floor of this glass corridor, and we started drawing. And after a while, maybe 5-10 minutes, the gorilla settled, and she came right up to the glass so that she was nestled within our group. So it was kind of like we were shoulder to shoulder, and I think she liked. I imagined that was kind of what gorillas might do together in a group, is sort of huddle together and eat or whatever. So it was almost as though she was more comfortable, and you could get a sense of the scale of this animal, and what we all shared afterwards was that we felt a connection. We felt a really palpable connection with the gorilla. An invisible connection beyond what we could see. It was it wasn't overwhelming, but it was very tangible. You could imagine. I can't really describe it, as you just couldn't describe it in words, because it's not visual, it's not audio. It's not something you'd hear with your ears, and we weren't kind of miming or making any gestures really, so it was literally a kind of a sense, and we all really felt it, and it was something that I was very excited and joyful about when I came out, and I felt very happy and thrilled and something that I always remembered. Yeah.
That's so moving, isn't it?
It is moving, yeah.
And also it's sort of, it's really difficult to listen to without feeling really tearful.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel a bit tearful myself about it. Yes, it's almost like a bridge over an unfathomable divide, really. And a divide in the sense that that's a captured animal. How could we have any kind of equality? Or I saw it as a social act. I saw it as a simple, spontaneous, in terms of the actions of the animal and the actions of us. It's I guess a spontaneous being together. I think the drawing does connect you anyway. I've noticed that when I've drawn people. I think the drawing is a part of it, yeah. Because you've got eye contact, close eye contact, but not staring. The staring can feel more aggressive. So you're looking up and down. So you're looking, I mean, I guess some people might draw with a stare, but most people tend to look up and down. So you have moments where you might look right into someone's eyes, and that can give a sense of connection. So I've got a couple of thoughts about that, or just things I've noticed. So one of them is what I looked up on the internet just before we started. There's a few studies that have been done, and they've been peer-to-peer published and so on, and they're studies of groups of people together and with using methods of tracking their brain activity. And they've shown that when people are interested in the same thing, their brain activity starts to mirror. So parts of the brain that are activated in one person then start to get more and more in sync with their other person who's getting on well with them in a chat or talking about something that they're interested in. So I was interested to read that. I mean, I don't know if that means that there's sort of waves, like a radio waves, which are kind of transmitted, but within the activity, in a sense of a mirroring, is being proven to occur. The other thing I've noticed about eye contact, which is completely unscientific, I've noticed that when you pass somebody and you're in a busy area and you're wanting to avoid crashing into them, if you connect your eyes with theirs, you both know which direction to go, even though you don't move your head or your eyes to indicate. So I don't know how that happens, but I've noticed if I don't give eye contact in that context, there'll be a kind of dance that goes on and nobody knows which side to go. And I just had another animal one, which was not so much of a story, and it was a sunny afternoon. I was doing a market somewhere in London, in Crystal Palace actually. I was running a Cindy museum of these vintage fashions.
How brilliant.
And I went outside for a break. It was lovely and sunny, and the rest of the market on a Saturday was fruit and veg and cakes and that kind of thing, takeaway food. Run by Transition Town in Crystal Palace. It's quite a good one. So there's kind of like a courtyard there which you have to go through, and someone came with this dog, and the dog was there, and it didn't take much notice of me. They didn't take much notice of me, but I felt that same feeling that I had with the gorilla. I didn't really know why, but it was just there.
Wow, that's amazing.
They told me a little story. I asked them about the dog, because I said, I like your dog, I'm feeling quite connected with your dog. And they were like, they were, you know how it's not really the done thing at the moment to buy a dog from Facebook or something like that? They had actually done that.
Yeah.
And so it was a dog that may have belonged to somebody else before, but it was now with this family. So that's all. I don't know any more about it really, but that was just that's just what happened.
And when you felt that connection with the dog, how did that manifest itself? That feeling?
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of, there's no drama to it. It's a very non-dramatic kind of feeling. It's more like, so it's more like that I have had it with a child. I've had it when I was feeding my ex-partner. This is going back years. My ex-partner, his sister had a baby, a newborn baby, and I was feeding the baby with a bottle, and it was looking up at me, and I felt that feeling then. Or like the feeling you have in a really quiet, intimate moment with somebody that you're physically close to. But in this case, I didn't have any physical interaction with the dog or the gorilla.
But you just felt...
But it was a similar kind of feeling.
The presence.
It's like a very calm feeling. It's as if you're lying in someone's arms. You completely trust them. You love them. You're feeling really relaxed, and you're just not troubled by any stress or niggling thoughts. There's that kind of feeling of connection that you have with the person, but also like a calmness about it. There's not really an exciting feeling. It's more of a wholesome feeling. For me, it's a bit more like there isn't really any me. There doesn't have to be any me. And I think that's the beauty of it.
Yeah. So it's like a perfect kind of peace.
Yeah. It's not. Yeah. I mean, it's I think it's that power of now, the Eckhart Tolle, the Buddhism, the simplicity of the power of now. Really. Yeah. I'm into that. I believe in that. I wouldn't say, and I think some people, I wouldn't say that I have it. I can experience that whenever I want, but because I'm interested in it, I've learnt about it, and I take action in my life, such as I do. Like at the moment, I do meditation every morning, but I wasn't doing that at the time, the gorilla-y time. But I think doing things like that can allow you to be freer, less caught up with who you are, less caught up with these tangle of kind of worries and things that we tend to have whizzing around our heads at any one time. Yeah, and those are okay. It's fine. I don't want to start getting preachy because I'm not a teacher of meditation or anything like that, but I do follow some people who teach it. One of them's a guy, what's his name? Robert Mitchell, and he teaches out of South London. He's a very, very down-to-earth person, and he teaches meditation, and he in a very unpretentious kind of way, in a very technique-based way. Yeah, so he's like, if you're into numbers, you can just count, or if you're into if you like visuals, then you can focus on something visual. And he talks about why it's a good thing to meditate, and he talks about how it's not, the aim of it isn't to clear your mind, but the aim of it is actually ultimately connection with others. That's what he believes anyway. Because the more you observe your own thoughts, the more you realise you're separate from your ego, and the more you're separate from your ego, the more you can connect with other people and have compassion for them. I don't really think of myself as that compassionate. I think I've got a long way to go with compassion, but yeah, it's a good thing to aim for, I suppose. With this week's news, it's kind of hard to wonder how you can. People are sort of digging their heels in and embedding in their entrenched kind of opinions.
Someone else I spoke to said that who'd had obviously another similar experience. He said that you have to be open to it, yeah, and This is definitely something that I'm hearing like time and time again with everyone that I speak to. And then this big debate about how nature is good for you and all this stuff, which is so obvious that it is, yeah. But I'm kind of thinking, is that because when you start exposing yourself to nature, all these things start sort of like coming to life?
Some people very resistant to that. I mean, I know people who really don't like nature. They just don't even like being outside.
Really? That's amazing. Who?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mean who, but I mean what type of people? I find that incredible.
Yeah,
wow.
Someone I was close to really didn't like being outside, and I didn't really understand why I wanted that. And I had a neighbour, and this is quite typical in London, in inner city, people who are afraid of insects.
Oh, I know, it's bizarre.
They're really scared of them, and so they just want to destroy them. And I used to live on a little street in Penge in South London, and when I moved there was a front garden, and it had got out of control, so it was quite weedy. But around the door was a gorgeous red rose, clambering rose. So it was a row of terraces, but it looked like a cottage. It had that very romantic look. And the housing association, who are my landlords, actually featured it on the front of their annual magazine. Anyway, one day I got home and it had all been ripped up.
With the rose?
No, the whole garden.
And the rose as well, or not the rose?
And the rose was still there. It was the only thing that was left, but it didn't survive.
No.
Because another morning I came out. By this point, the whole garden had been covered in paving slabs. I came out and someone had cut the rose at the base.
Oh no.
And I was really upset. I managed to save a foot square of the garden next to the front door, and I planted some dahlias there, which thrived.
Why was the garden?
Because my neighbour, I think she had perhaps requested that the garden be paved over, and I'd only just moved in, so I was a bit late. I didn't get a say in it. And by the time, I think I said to the builders, make sure you leave the flower beds, and they just didn't. They just paved over them. And it was over before I knew what had happened.
Yeah.
And my neighbour she was afraid of creepy crawlies, so she just wanted to do it. She just sort of, she was a bit of a destroyer. Yeah, it was quite a shame. But on the upside, I had the whole of the back garden because she was on the top floor and I was on the ground floor. So I made the garden into a frog paradise. I had loads of frogs. I had a tiny little pond, which was there before I moved in, about 1.5 feet.
Yeah.
And it had reeds and beautiful yellow irises that grew there in the spring. And then in March, the frogs would mate in there. So the pond would suddenly be heaving with all these frogs. And if you shone your torch at night, there'd just be all these headlamps. I really liked that little garden. It was gorgeous, and in the summer they would purr for me.
What does that sound like?
It's like the frog. A frog is supposed to ribbit, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ribbit. But yeah, when they're in the summer, it was quite a north-facing garden, so they'd find a cool damp spot, and they'd just kind of do the ribbity thing, but it was like quite soft. So it sounded like a purr, and I would just hear it in the garden any time of the day, and especially at night. And at night, sometimes they would leap. I don't know quite where they were leaping from. One day I almost accidentally killed one because I had left a really big yellow bucket out in the garden, and the frog had jumped into the bucket, but there was no way for it to get out. Yeah. So obviously it's a frog, so it was alright, happy swimming around, and it didn't die. But it changed colour, so it went completely bright yellow to disguise itself in the bucket so the heron wouldn't get it. and then I let it out when I saw it was floating in it. Yeah.
And did it change back?
I don't know. I
Must have
just let it hop off into the undergrowth.
Oh, wow.
In Penge, we also sort of notable from a wildlife point of view as I can't remember the name of them now, but they're like a very large beetle. Perhaps one of our largest beetles in the UK. A stag beetle.
Oh, they're beautiful. They're quite unusual.
Yeah. Because I think that area used to be forested.
Oh,
so there's still a few hanging on.
Yeah.
And at dusk, the males fly, and one kind of flew into me almost one day over the fence in the garden.
How wonderful!
They're to see one of those flying is quite cool. Yeah,
I've never seen a stag beetle fly.
They're cool, and they apparently they grow in the ground. They're like giant, really big, fat maggots.
Yeah, I've seen that in the ground.
Okay.
Yeah, I've seen that in the ground when I was planting a tree in my orchard.
Oh.
I saw one of those maggots and quickly put it back in, and have had stag beetles in my garden, the one that is wild now. Yeah.
Oh, well, if you sit in the garden it's at dusk. They like on a sunny day. At dusk, then you'll see them fly.
I'm going to do that this year. You should come over and we do it together.
Yeah. I don't know if there's anything you can do to attract them. Yeah.
Well, I know where it was. We can sit near where it was.
All right.
Yeah.
It's a date. Midsummer's Day.
Yeah, let's do that. Oh, Frankie, thank you so much.
Yeah,
it's been really wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, it was fun.
You may have heard Alan Chalk talking on an earlier podcast about how a Shire horse saved his life. I'm thrilled to tell you that I'll be releasing a bonus podcast as we approach VE Day. That's Victory in Europe Day, the 8th of May 2025. And this podcast will be Alan talking about rural childhood during the wartime years. He even came across a fallen enemy aircraft. Subscribe to know when that bonus is released and follow me on Instagram at Estelle_writer44 and TikTok at Estelle Phillips. Bye!